Well, first porch post is up. Started this project a little bit late, but we will reconvene on another day. Well, if you've not been here before, obviously we're building a house and I've got a wraparound porch that basically encompasses 3 sides of the house. So I'm installing my porch post, but I've done them a little bit different. I had a local fab shop make these posts up for me, and they're built out of 6x6 steel tubing. Now my posts, they're 1/8 inch wall, but then my headers are 1/4 inch wall. So that's obviously, you know, through this span gonna be holding the rafter up above it. So they have put me some mounting flanges here on the bottom, and then I have created these cradles to where that 6x6 header will set down in it, and then everything they had was laser, and so you can look at those holes. They've left me some slop in these holes so I can move things around and line them up. But these angles, you can see on that corner piece, that 45, how true that is. But I've just mounted my first corner post, but it will catch one here. It'll go back in that corner, and then it'll 45, and then it'll bolt up in the corners. But anyway, I've got to go, I think, 17 posts to put in, and then I'll have to put those headers in after that. So I'm leaving everything a little loose down here at the bottom. I'm just using concrete anchors. So I'm putting them in, I'm just hand tightening them. That way it keeps them from blowing down. But then once I set my headers, I'll go back and shim everything and true it up, and then we'll lock everything down. But let's continue on around this way. We'll try to knock this side out. Now I drew everything up and sent them a rough sketch with all my measurements on it, but they put it in their software obviously, and drew a set of plans. But I had them cut me a mounting plate here that replicates what's on the bottom of the post. So I came out here last night, took my plans, in which I started in the middle of the house, centered off of it, and then worked my way around the corners. But then I came back and I've located all my holes, so that way today I can come in here and just take off drilling. But it's out here on the textured edge of the porch, so that makes drilling the holes a little more difficult. It would have been nice if I'd had all these mounting bolts in the concrete when I poured the concrete, but the thoughts of having to put 4 mounting bolts, 17 different locations, and them all turn out in the right place makes my head hurt thinking about it. So that's the reason I'm drilling them after the fact, but I think we'll be able to manage. It sort of seems to help to get a little pilot hole, that way I've got a place for my bit to start. But before I poured my concrete, if I can find it, I'll stick a little footage in here. But what I did was I went in here and actually drilled holes with a post hole digger on the tractor. I'd located where all my posts were going to be. So basically, before I poured my concrete, I dug a hole here and put some steel in it. So basically I built a footer. When it's all monolithic when I poured it, but I've got a footer underneath each one where these posts will sit. So yeah. Brantley's them OSHA approved work shoes.
Yeah.
Hopefully that'll hold us up and the porch won't fall. Well, the help has arrived. Kristen, you ready to put some posts in?
Palin has gymnastics.
Excuses. All right, it's a new day. Smile for the camera, Robin. Got Tommy and Robin over there staining posts. Got the stonemasons going to town. I got all my posts put up. Let's see if we can wrestle one of these headers up. There's what we're going after, and then we'll put our ledger back against the house, and those beams that they're staining over there, that'll create our rafters, which I'll put a 2-foot overhang on these. So we'll have to bring them in here once we get the ledger. We'll lay them out. These are going to be put on about a 3.5 12 pitch, something 3.5 to 4, somewhere in there. So we'll cut our bird's mouth to where they'll set on that, and then I've got some angle brackets that I'm gonna drill and tap atop of these headers, and then I'll bolt an angle bracket to where we can then run anchor screws into these rafters to hold everything in place. But as long as Travis's measurements are correct and I put all these posts in the right place, this thing will go together like a puzzle. Now just put it in reverse and back it up over there. Looks like a glove, baby. So here's how I'm connecting them. I had them make these holes oblong up and down, and then on my header they're oblong this way. That way I've got some movement to get everything to go together. But for now, I'm just going to pin them and get them put in place. And then once I get everything set, I'll go back down to the corners and I'll pull a string line through here, and then we'll shim everything up and make it all come together. But it's going together pretty good right now. But I had them leave me just a little gap down in these saddles. That way I didn't have to beat these down in there. And once I tighten these down, so it'll tighten these down, it'll pull everything up against it. And I don't think it'll go anywhere. All right, the sun's rose again. Tommy and Robin, they're out here staining their beams and their ledger boards. But if you've not been here before, what we're using a combination of 2 parts motor oil to 1 part diesel fuel, but that's what you get, which it'll dry out just a little bit lighter. That'll make up all of our beams or rafters for the porch, and then they're working on the ledger boards that'll go around the house now. But we had a little bit of rain today, so I've sort of paused on setting my posts and headers. I'll show you what I got done though. I've got all my posts set, and then I've got my headers set across the front, and then I'm working my way down this side, and then that swimming pool over there is going to get in the way on the other side. But those headers are 1/4 inch wall 6x6 tubing, so them suckers are not light. So over there I'm gonna have about 3 of them to set by hand, so that's not gonna be as fun. But stone guys are working their way around here, but I'm gonna let this dirt dry a little bit before I get back in here, because I got to get on and off of the porch, and I don't want to get that mud on the porch for now. So back to cutting some ledger board. Now my ledger board will go back here and mount against the house, and it calculates in somewhere around 10 feet, 10.5 feet, which that's where my rafters will tie in and come out here across my headers. But these stone guys, they're moving right along. But I'm gonna do my ledger a little bit different because I'm gonna be putting metal siding on this house, so I'll show you what I'm doing. To prevent from having J-trim up against my ledger, what I'm doing is I'm essentially cutting a rabbet in the bottom side of the ledger, so that way that siding can slip up in behind that. I'll show you how I'm cutting them. Now the siding is about 3/4 of an inch thick, so what I've done is I've got a 7/8 block here that I'll make score my line, but then I'll come down here 1 inch, and then I'll basically take this corner out, and then that wire siding can go in there. Now this side will mount against the house, so my siding can slip right up in that rabbet. Won't have a need for any J-trim.
Apparently is better than this at me. Better at this than me. I was fired from the job. Thank goodness. I'm so glad it's Saturday and he's home.
Alright, good. Alright, pick it back up just a little. Alright, good. Right there. Well, I think you probably get the point on what I'm doing for the posts and rafters. I've got some corners left to put in, and then I've got 3 in here, which that swimming pool's in the way for me to get the tractor in, so I'll have to call in for some backup. And then the fab shop, they're finishing my 2 end pieces up, one for the other side and this one, but they'll 45 here, and then they're putting a mounting flange on the back side of it for me, so I'll go on the inside the house. I'll block that up, and then we'll mount that there. But we'll get that done. We'll put those 4x6 rafters across here, and then we'll stick a roof on this baby. Well, my stone guys, they're moving right along, which all they've got to do is come back and put this drip ledge on top. I went ahead and moved all the stone around front for them, so they won't have to carry them so far. But basically all they like is the front, and then the right hand side of the house, and then just this side of the garage, and they'll have it whooped. But we're moving along slowly but surely, but we'll get there one of these days. But if you watch this one, I appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.